Matt, you want to lead us off? Matt Jones?
Sure. Hey, Dave, I wonder what you think about how yesterday's ruling affects the juniors, maybe not a Kjerstad or a Martin, but the ones who would otherwise get drafted, but might not get drafted in a shortened draft this year.
Well, I think it'll give them a good option to go back to school. They feel like they're not going to get the type of bonus that they need to skip a year of school or two. So I think it's definitely an advantage for them. At least frees them up to make a decision instead of feeling like that they don't have any bargaining power and they pretty much take what they can get. So I'm really happy for them.
Matt, you have anything else?
Yeah, Dave, just kind of how do you approach, I know Kyle mentioned that it's still very early, but how do you approach the roster next season, having an expanded roster, and especially maybe your scholarship allocation with potentially so many players going to be on the roster?
Well, it's going to be different for every school. You're talking about Arkansas. So what I see is that, first off, we don't have any seniors. So that part didn't help us one bit. I'm happy for the seniors. It helps them, gives them an opportunity to come back and play again. I think what it's going to do is going to help a lot of the mid-majors, or maybe in a rare case where some more, I guess, Power 5 type schools have a few seniors. I mean, you look at like TCU, they've got 7 or 8 seniors, and I think contributing. So they could be one of the oldest teams in the country next year if those kids decide to come back. But for Arkansas, in our program, we have some seniors academically, but as far as athletically, we just really had Cole Austin, who was a grad transfer, and then underclassmen. So, we won't have a bunch of seniors coming back that'll be on the roster. So that knocks the number down a little bit. And then, we'll have a few guys sign. And then there's a few guys that are borderline sign guys that obviously we hope they come back. And then, so if we get our freshmen, very, very talented group of freshmen, there's a couple, 3 that can come in and play right now or really help us, whether on the mound or with the bat. So, we just have to see what happens in the draft. And we don't even know when the draft is. We don't know how many rounds there's going to be. So there's still a lot up in the air for us. And I think there will be things that will happen throughout the summer, whether we feel like somebody needs to make a move or somebody in here feels like they need to make a move. I mean, something always happens, but we've got many months to try to figure this out.
Nate?
I guess, Dave, do you think there'll be a draft that they could say, well, with all the juniors being eligible or 2, could they just wait and say, like, we're a Casey Martin or Kjerstad, figure let's not give them that much bargaining power and just skip the draft and do it next year?
Well, I think there will be a draft. I think there'll be if Major League Baseball doesn't play all summer, they'll have a 5-round draft, and then they'll have free agency after that, where they're limited on how much money they can give the free agents. If Major League Baseball plays half their season or a little more, there could be all the way up to 20 rounds. If they play 100 games, there's probably closer to 20 rounds, what I've been told. If they play 80 games, you're probably looking at 10 or somewhere in there. I mean, it's all hearsay, but, there's been some people in the know that I've talked to about it. And that I do feel that there will be a draft. And when you were talking about 2 or 3 of our guys should go in the first round, so I feel like that they will have bargaining power and they're going to get paid the way they're supposed to if they go in the first round, second round, third round possibly. When you start talking 4th or 5th round, if there's only 5 rounds, I don't know how they would handle that. But, the good thing is if somebody decided they wanted to come back, obviously we'd welcome them with open arms and a scholarship. So, time will tell.
Also for summer development, are you just figuring out there'll be no summer ball this year and the only thing really they can do is lift weights and train on their own?
Yeah, so that's one of the big issues with our coaching staff, and something I have a phone call that I'm going to be on later, and that's something that I'm definitely going to bring up. And it's maybe not so much about summer ball. Hopefully they do get to play some summer balls in a couple of leagues anyway. You know, even if it's part of July and August. If they don't, I truly believe that there needs to be some type of rule where we can bring our guys in early. Or if we can't bring them in early, if everything's on go normal in September, that we could go longer if we need to, maybe just spread it out, and that maybe we could play outside competition whenever we want to, whether we play, 10 games or 15 or 20 or whatever we need to do. And we could play Division I, we could play junior college, we could play Division II schools, whatever, just play some outside competition. I mean, we're worried about development. We want guys to get better, and our guys want to get better, but you do that by playing.
Thanks.
Tom?
Oh, hey, Dave. Thanks for doing this. I'm wondering what type of communications you can have with your guys, and if the guidelines that they allowed last week, does that apply to you?
Well, right now, it's basically phone calls and texting, and we can give them some things they can work on. We're not coaching them. We're not getting on, FaceTime or anything with these guys and telling them what to do and showing them how to do it or watching them. Honestly, not 100% sure what we can do. Example like football, like what they're doing right now, the 2 hours a week. Haven't even looked into it because at this point, we're not going to have our guys working out and making them do certain things at this time. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to do that because they're not going to be playing anywhere for a few months, and they won't be back with us until earliest would be, as of right now, maybe mid-August. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. And so what are front burner issues for you? Like what occupies your day-to-day right now?
Well, obviously a couple things that are out of our control, and so I guess you can't get too uptight about it because you can't do anything about it. But, the main issue for us, once you get your mind around that we're not going to be playing baseball anymore, we don't have a season, is you have to look to the future and look to the roster and making sure that we put the type of team on the field that we need to here, and just roster management and being fair for everyone. And so without knowing when the draft is and then the draft being put off and pushed back, I think it's going to be a mental battle for all of us coaches and a lot of the players throughout the summer. Some of it's pretty obvious, but we've got some really good young freshmen that we don't know if they're going to make it to school or not. So those are obviously those fellowship involved there that can be moved around, and those are roster spots that can be taken by other kids. And, so basically it's all about getting the player personnel straightened out, so to speak.
Gotcha. And just lastly, so you basically had to come to grips with the fact you're not going to be able to reconvene before school lets out with this baseball team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing, you just everything, just to put an ending to this face to face, be able to meet with the team and talk to them and tell them how much you appreciate them and, the effort that they put in and how hard they worked and then have our exit meetings one-on-one or the players with all the coaches talking about, what they've done, what they need to work on, their future. And some of those meetings are not great meetings. Some of them are tough meetings where you have to talk about the future and, kids are transferring and different things, but you still need to have those. And now, unfortunately, it's like those meetings are going to be over the phone, later on in the semester.
All right. Thanks. That's good for me.
Okay.
Drew?
Hey, Dave, Drew Hammond here, Big Trail Nation. Hope you're doing well. Hey, I just had a quick question. I know you talked about Christian Franklin in the last teleconference and the strides he made. Would you say he exceeded your expectations this season? Are you surprised at all, just given his potential?
I guess if you would have asked me, you know, last year at the end of the season, or if I would have thought about it at the end of the season last year, yeah, I thought he exceeded it, how much better he got. But then when he got back in the fall and we started working out and we started scrimmaging, we could see the development had really started to take place, you know, between his confidence of playing as a freshman. He had a really good summer in summer ball, played on a really good team, and one of the best players on that team, and they won the championship in California. And coming back, you could just see the defensive skills were better, but you could really just see a lot better offensive player. So I would say once fall ball was over, we knew what we thought we thought he could do, and he was doing it. So a little of both. I guess it just depends on the timing, but yeah, he definitely made a jump, and most kids do, and that's what I've seen over the years is that the biggest jump guys will usually make will be between their freshman and sophomore year, and it's usually because they have the skills, they're getting stronger, and now mentally they think they've arrived and they're confident.
And then just one more in terms of personnel. I know Kjerstad Opitz is a guy who it's well documented how great of a leader he is, but what would you say in terms of Heston Kjerstad, just the way he's evolved as a leader and knowing that, you know, he has a presence in the clubhouse in that regard? He's had so many experiences now, having been with Team USA.
Yeah, I think Heston probably, as far as the leadership qualities, made one of the biggest jumps from his sophomore year to the fall of his junior year. Just the respect of his teammates, because the first year or two, you know, he just played, worked hard, and maybe let some other guys lead a little bit more. And we had older guys in there. And then when it was his turn, he did a tremendous job. And I think the players really looked up to Heston, because here you see this kid that's had 2 really good years, and now he's getting ready to start his third, and he works hard as hard or harder than anybody on the team, and didn't just kind of sit back and say, yeah, I'm pretty good, I'm going to go get it. He worked hard, and they saw that. So I think he earned most of his respect with his work ethic. And then he just keeps getting better. You know, he was really good as a freshman. He was really good as a sophomore. But I'm telling you, this year, he's better, a lot better. And I think, you know, you kind of saw it. And I think if we'd have played, you know, 60-plus games, which we would have, I think you would have seen him do some special things on the field.
Appreciate it, Dave.
Yeah.
Patch.
Hey, Dave. I was just wondering, you mentioned Cole Austin being the only senior on the roster. Has he indicated whether or not he'll take advantage of this and come back next year?
Yeah, we talked a few days after we broke as a team and had to leave. I would say as of right now, he's not going to play. He's just going to finish his master's. But, you know, sometimes things change, you know, because he didn't get off to a good start. He had a good fall here. Didn't go real good. He feels like he's old, you know, a lot older than a lot of the guys, and maybe it's time to step aside. But sometimes when you have a little time to really think, and you know, maybe I need to finish this thing up. So I would say right now it's 40-60 that he won't play next year.
Mm-hmm. And then also with the rule with seniors not counting toward, you know, roster spots and scholarships, does that apply to graduate transfers? And is that something you would potentially pursue, like if you could find a Trevor Ezell type guy?
Well, those are some of the things we're not 100% sure on that we're trying to find out. So I really can't answer that. I would think that it would be just. I would think that it would not count, but who's to say? You know, if you leave one school to go to another, does that change things? I don't know.
hmm And one more, I had you had a couple of guys sitting out this year as transfers, Fulham Smith and Miller Pleeman. Did this count as their sit-out year? Will they be eligible to play next year?
Yeah, they'll be eligible to play. It's more of a, I think it's more of a semester thing than it is maybe a season. It's about, a year of being somewhere. So, it's Miller Plyman is how you pronounce that, and he did really well for us in the fall, and I think he'll do a good job for us next year. So, and then Cullen, he did well in the fall, and then did even better in January. I could see him make a big jump. That if he'd have been eligible, he'd have had a chance to play for us this year. So those guys, as far as I know, will be back.
All right, that's all I got. Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Matt, you had a few more questions?
Yeah, just to clarify a couple of things. Dave, do you know how this ruling will affect junior college players who are coming in? Say if it's a sophomore from junior college, are they going to be able to be a sophomore again if they come into Division I school?
I'm not 100%. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. I know that that's one of our questions as well, because I would think it makes sense if he lost the year there because they didn't get to play. Why would they count the year when he comes here? So, for example, the two to three JUCO kids we have committed right now, if they came in, they should be able to come in as redshirt sophomores. But that would be my semi-educated guess.
And then I wonder if the draft is moved back, does that affect who is eligible for the draft in terms of that 45-day window?
I heard it would not. I heard that they would go off of what it was going to be. So 45 days from whenever, June, whatever it was supposed to be, 10th, somewhere in there.
And then I also wonder, have you heard any stories about your players trying to stay in shape? Maybe some of the things they're having to do to get creative to work out with the gyms being closed?
Well, just talk to a few of them. They have strength and conditioning, I guess more weights type stuff in their basements and garages and hitting off the tee into a net in the garage or the basement. I mean, the basic stuff. We've got some of them that probably have a key to get into somebody's batting cage somewhere. And I think there's a lot of that going on. That's maybe not open to the public, but if you know somebody, they let you in and they keep it one or two people in there. So just, a few of those stories going on around.
Okay.
Any more questions for Coach Van Horn?
Yeah, Kyle. Go ahead, Dudley.
All right, Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Dave, I guess whatever the draft, the format is, we all know Heston's going to be pretty high. Well, what do you think about him as a draft prospect, and what kind of feedback do you get from the major league people?
Well, what I think about him as a draft prospect, I think he's probably the best left-handed hitter in the country. If you combo up being able to use the whole field, and then also you throw in the power to all parts of the field, and the development I've seen, I don't know how there could be a better left-handed hitter in the country right now. So I would think his draft stock would be pretty high. I know it is from talking to people, and I think he showed early how much better he was than he walked in here. I guess this early spring he was awfully good, and I think that he's going to be a really good draft. I think he's going to be a really good pro player, and I think if he stays healthy and stays hooked up, which I feel like he will, I think he'll play in the big leagues for a long time.
And then Kjerstad Opitz, obviously he's a high-end defensive catcher. I guess he's improved his hitting and switch hitter. What sort of draft feedback do you get on him?
I mean, it's a mix with Casey. They don't know Casey like we know him, and they evaluate you against other catchers that are available in the draft, and are they going to take this guy first because he's has a better arm, or take this guy ahead of Casey because he hits better. But as far as the total package, the mental part of it, the defense, the offense, I mean, I feel like Casey's one of the top probably 3 catchers in the country right now. And, you know, that there's some scouts they're not sure. But I think he should be a good draft. If he's not drafted where he wants to, or doesn't get the money that he really wants, I mean, obviously we would love to have him back, and I think he'd get his money next year. He might be one of the first catchers taken off the board if he came back one more year. But I don't see him doing that. But he knows that option's there now, and I'm happy for that.
And then if I understood the scholarship decision properly, you can expand the roster for 2021, but not for the following years. Is that how you read it?
That's the way I read it, and I mean that could make for some difficult decisions at the end of the 21 season, or if you want to be proactive, you maybe start taking care of some of that now. So you don't have to do it next year. If there's kids that are borderline, or, you know, for sure you don't feel good about it, then just be upfront with them, maybe let them make their own decision on that. And, but that's the way I understand it right now. But again, we're still trying to get all that straightened out in our mind.
I know the other day you said you were hoping they'd kind of cycle through 4 seasons. Are you kind of disappointed that they're just doing it for the 1 season?
Well, for a year, maybe baseball, you know, they taper it down over a couple, 3 years. I mean, it'd be great if it was 4, but if it was 3, that's better than 1. And I think that those are going to be some things that are going to be discussed. If the SEC or some of the other leagues want to go back to the NCAA and say, hey, this makes more sense. And if you're looking at student athlete well-being, then it does make more sense, because then we aren't running guys out of here, or they're not feeling like they're forced to leave, or whatever the situation may be at their university. But so I think that's still up in the air a little bit.
I had a couple more. I'll let somebody else jump in if they want to.
Dudley, did you have any?
Yeah. Hey, Coach. Appreciate you doing this. You have such a good recruiting class coming in. Have any of those guys or their parents or whatever talked to you and been worried about maybe how things are going to go along? And when you break things down, how do you what's your philosophy? And maybe I got a guy here who can help me for 3 years as opposed to a guy who's maybe not been playing a lot. What's your philosophy on those things?
Right. Well, first off, I haven't had any parents reach out to us, and now that we've found out the ruling, I mean, yeah, that helps some of our guys, keep a status example of, I was a freshman this year, I can be freshman status next year. So that might be concerning to the parents. But the thing is, in 2 more seasons, that freshman class they're going to be draft eligible, and their son has just finished his sophomore year, and the freshmen in here just finished their redshirt sophomore year. If they're good enough, they're going to sign. And if they're not good enough, then maybe they weren't playing anyway, or who knows. So I haven't really had I'm not real concerned about it as of right now. I don't see issues. Now, the issue, if we have 4 or 5 seniors that are coming back that are pretty good players, and then we get a log jam, I would get a little bit of it. Basically, our junior and senior situation is going to be the same as it is every year.
Also, if we're just thinking of maybe a 5-round draft, you have some of those signees that you think that are going to be maybe pushing into that?
Yes, we have a few kids that could go in the top 5 rounds, and we talk to those guys. We kind of have an idea that they, what it's going to take for them to sign, and there's a possibility they could get that kind of money. But we always think we're going to lose a couple. You don't want to lose 4 or 5, and because I think in a normal draft year, if there were 40 rounds, I think we could have as many as double digits drafted. that out of the high school kids, that they really were drafting them on what they saw on the field. Now, sometimes they don't draft them because they price themselves out, or they've said, I'm going to college no matter what, or whatever the situation. But if it was just straight up drafted because of ability, I think we have a lot of kids that would, they're incoming high school kids and JUCO kids that would definitely be drafted.
Anybody in particular that is projected to go really high?
Well, I mean, if you look around, you see Mason Lynn's name jump up there a lot. So he's probably the main one. I mean, he's projected maybe, I don't know. I've seen him as high as maybe a sandwich pick, late first round pick. He wants a lot of money. Really good player. He can play, both. He can play anywhere on the field pretty much, and he can pitch. And we would use him maybe as a late inning pitcher or closer, but I think athletically he's going to be doing what I'm supposed to do, and that's stay away.
And is the field being maintained like it would if it was the season, groundskeeper guys, keeping it looking good and everything?
Yeah, you figure we're not out there tearing it up. I mean, it looks beautiful right now. It's as green as I've ever seen it this time of the year with all the rain we've had. I mean, it's beautiful, and it's almost depressing to look at it. It looks so nice because we don't get to play on it, to be out there. But I'm sure the fans feel the same way. They don't get to come see this. That's part of the baseball thing. Just being at the ballpark and the sights and the smells, and obviously the game's important, but there's a lot to it, and that's kind of some of the things we're missing right now.
So are they like mowing it and?
Yeah, they can't let it go. I mean, they got to mow it, so they're not mowing it every day like they would this time of the year normally. They're probably mowing it every other day, every third day, and they're probably not mowing it quite as short as they normally do. They don't have to.
Did you go out and walk around on it or anything? Or?
Yeah, I have once or twice. You want to meet me down there and go for a walk, or what are we talking about now?
I don't know. We'd have to stay 6 feet apart.
I don't know if we get that close, Bob. Come on now.
I could yell some questions at you.
Yeah, I'm sure you would too.
I had one last one, hopefully kind of lighthearted. I saw Casey Martin, I guess, I don't know if he called a music video, but he posted something on Twitter. He was singing and playing a guitar. Did you happen to see that? And if so, what did you think? And does he ever sing or play in the clubhouse?
Well, I did see it. I have to admit, when I first saw it pop up, I was like, "What is going on with this?" And I thought, "Well, he's not bad, But who am I to judge somebody singing a country western song? But hey, I'm glad he's got some talent and different things. I mean, pretty good athlete, great baseball player, and played the guitar. I think he might be able to play the drums, and now he's singing a little bit. So it takes a lot of courage to sing in public.
So you thought it was a pretty good deal?
I thought he did a pretty good job, yeah.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Bob.
Any more questions for Coach Van Horn?
Yeah, I've got one for you, Coach. It's Tyler Cass. We talk a lot in baseball, especially about the jumps, freshman year, sophomore year to junior year, just losing most of the season. How we're going to see that kind of effect, that kind of progression?
Well, I think it'll be slowed down a little bit, and that's why I'm hoping that we would have the opportunity to maybe start early or have the opportunity to practice and work out a little longer than normal, or at least play outside competition more in scrimmage settings, or I just think that would really that would help. Now, as far as the strength, and maybe to some I don't know, some point, some percent, the mental part of just growing up and being familiar with everything. You walk back in your second year of school, usually everything doesn't seem so big and so stressful. And I think that's what also helps these guys make this jump. But definitely from a development standpoint, not seeing as many pitches as you would as a hitter, or getting out or, attacking hitters as a pitcher you're behind there a little bit compared to normal. So any way that we can help these guys catch up, that's what we're going to try to do this next year.
All right, last question, Van Horn. All right, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks, Dave.
man. Okay, see you guys. Stay safe.
All right. I think we've got Casey and Heston both here. So for this, with having two guys here at the same time, we'll try to do our best to get around to everybody like we've been doing. But just if you can please address who your question is for, that way Heston and Casey know who needs to answer. All right, Bob, why don't you lead us off?
Okay. Well, Heston, I don't know if you were listening to Dave Van Horn or not, but he said he thinks you're the best left-handed hitter in the draft. Kind of how do you feel about that? And I think we all know you're going to be a high pick. Just kind of what are your thoughts about the draft, but not knowing kind of when it's going to be held and some of the other uncertainty. And then for Casey, what are you guys doing to stay ready? Dave Van Horn.
High school, so it's a little bit kind of fun to be able to do that or get back to your roots a little bit. So, yeah.
Casey?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing everything I can right now and still staying out and hit. That's probably the best part of your day because you come home, can't really do anything else. It's kind of boring. So you take advantage of that time, you enjoy it, and you get to work.
And Casey, are you
College baseball, but I haven't really talked to scouts. I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm just still stayed hopeful that maybe we'd come back and we'd get some more games. And even after a meeting with Van Horn, I think me and some other guys kind of held on, but it was tough. It was tough because this is a scary thing, and it's something no one else goes through or no one's ever gone through before. And you got to take it on the chin and move on. It's tough because obviously it's some of the best times of your life, playing in college, with your best friend, the guys you've spent past 3 years with and working out with and living with. So it's definitely tough, but I've enjoyed every moment of it since my freshman year to that last game. But I talk a lot about it. It's probably the best 3 years, and I'll tell my kids about it. I never expected to be an Arkansas baseball player, but I'll never forget my time there. Yeah, no, basically what Casey said, totally agree with him on all that. It was the greatest experience I could have had as a college baseball player, with the staff and the fans and everything.
Season, and could have been a 20-home.
That's the season for everyone in college baseball. It's just 2020 with a huge question mark next to it, and we'll never know, and it'll just be something we always probably think about and wonder.
And really, for both of you guys, just my last question: what are you going to miss the most about this team and how you're able to come together?
That's one thing I'll remember the past 3 years is just the people I've met, the friends I've gained, coaches I've been with the past 3 years, and just the relationships I've built. So it's tough to say goodbye to that, but you also appreciate every second that it happens.
Thanks, guys.
Matt?
Yeah, guys, the extra year of eligibility may not affect you because of the draft, but you've been with a lot of players who could have potentially been drafted this year that, now may not be with the draft being shortened to 5 rounds. Have you talked to some of your classmates about how they feel about this extra year of eligibility? And then from a personal standpoint, how good do you guys feel that they're going to be able to maintain that leverage for the draft the next year?
I've talked with a few of the guys on the team here and there about it, or even leading up to it, what guys thought. I think we're all pretty much on the same page, and everybody wanted the extra year because, you come to college hoping you get, 4 years eligibility or 3 or whatever, and I think it's beneficial to everyone, so that way everybody gets
4 seasons or however long they want to leave their mark on a university. And, you know, I think it'll be good for some guys to be able to come back and do junior year again. And, you know, I don't know how it'll end up, if it'll hurt guys' leverage or help them or whatever, but I guess time will tell. Yeah, 100%. You know, the saddest part of this is the high school seniors. To me, some guys that'll never play baseball again, and this is their last season. You know, I know somebody that didn't make the team, their high school team, for 3 years. Finally made it.
Casey, for you, you know, your freshman year, you got to sit back and learn from Grant during that run to the World Series. Is there a part of you that feels bad that the freshman catchers, you know, this year aren't going to get to, you know, experience another 3 months of potentially of playing time and that learning experience that you were able to get from the one that you worked under your freshman year?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I feel bad for everyone that doesn't get to experience these next 3 months and, you know, where this team could have gone. But, you know, I put a lot of work in those guys in the fall and even early this spring to kind of get them ready for the next step. Obviously, another 3 months would have been good, but, you know, I was already packed, everything, baseball bag. We're supposed to take a flight out at, I think it was 2. So I was in class mid-April or whatever, whenever the SEC decides to open it back up. If they do, and they didn't even really know much, and it was just expect that. So when we got that news, it was kind of take a step back stuff, whether it's help them out with or where. Hey.
Yeah, Casey, as far as I know it's only 16 games, but how much do you feel your improved hitting is going to help you as far as the drafts and to, you know, get your average up over last year? Or is a lot of it just because you're fresh at the start of the year compared to catchers wearing down late?
Yeah, we made a lot of adjustments in our swing. You know, timing, being more aggressive with my approach. There was a lot of little things that we improved on, and that was the main focus of the fall leading into the season. So I felt good. Felt good where I was at. I was still working. We were getting hot. To where that is an option, that's unbelievable. But you know, we're taking it day by day. We're just worried about improving, worried on working out, and then when that time gets closer and a decision needs to be made, that's when we'll get together and get it figured out.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Bob, did you have a few more?
Yeah, I had a couple more. Casey, I thought Heston gave a pretty thoughtful answer on the what if, because you guys were going for a 3-peat in Omaha. I know you guys had a bit of a rough patch with the losing streak, but then you seemed to draw out of that. How do you think you guys were playing and kind of bounced back from the losing streak? And you know, and the what ifs. You know, I mean, kind of how do you? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's something we're always going to think. You know, Heston hit the nail on the head there. 2020 is going to have a huge what if and a question mark with it. But I think we were, you know, right there in line to compete with anybody and to play in Omaha again. So that's the toughest part for us, is we know we were able to get there and we could have done something special. But you know, we were going really good at the beginning of the season, and then we hit a bump in Houston, and that's what teams do early on in the season. You know, they're not their best. They lose games. They got to figure out why they're losing them and make adjustments. So, you know, we kind of felt like we were right in line and we were taking the right steps. Everything was working towards the end of the season. So it was tough that it got cut short.
Were you guys feeling pretty good going to Starkville? I mean, you know, obviously you're playing a great team, a tough environment, but did you feel pretty good about how you guys were playing, preparing for that series?
Yeah, absolutely. We like playing Mississippi State. You know, we like playing in those tough environments. We were excited to go down there. You know, a lot of these guys, you know, get to see what the SEC is all about, and especially that's the first time being in there, and you're at Duty Noble, and it's an unreal environment. So obviously, we were all sad that we weren't able to get to go and compete, but it's just something that happened, and we gotta go with it.
And Heston, sorry, I don't know this, but what business is do your folks? What's their business?
It's called water spill. It's a little hard to get a grasp on if you've never been there, because it's kind of not like a normal retail store. So they do water, ice, and tea is the main things there, and the main thing is it's distilled water. So it's like smart water pretty much, and they bottle it, package. You can bring in 5-gallon jugs, refill them there, and get tea too. The tea's unreal. I always brought it up to a few of the guys here and there, and they always wanted my parents to bring them some when they'd come up. They'd always be asking me for some or whatever. So they've been busy with that. So I just help out when I can.
And then for both you guys, I saw the Casey Martin music video, I guess you call it, on Twitter, where he's swinging and playing the guitar. I assume you guys saw that. Just kind of wonder what you think about, I guess, Casey's musical ability, and does he ever sing or play the guitar on road trips or the clubhouse or anything like that?
Go ahead, Heston. We already knew, because Opitz and I roomed with Casey our freshman year. So in our dorm room, he'd play every once in a while, maybe literally maybe once or twice a week. He would play his guitar or whatever when we'd be in there. But besides that, I don't even think majority of the team even knew he played the guitar or sang, honestly. He never did it clubhouse or road trips or anything. He just kind of kept that kind of to himself, or maybe when there was just a few of us in the dorm room, he'd do that. But, he has more music ability than probably anyone on the team, because I don't know many guys that can play an instrument or even sing well. So
yeah, Heston heard it a little bit our freshman year in the dorm, but then I lived with him in a house last year, and I think that was 90% of his time at home was freaking wailing on that guitar and singing at the top of his lungs in his room. But he's got that old low note soul, man. You can hear it when he sings. It's good to hear that he finally came out of his shell and showed the world his true talent.
Did you guys, that video was pretty good? You think he's got some real talent, after baseball, he could, I don't know, go honky tonkin' or something?
Yeah. I think he's got it in there. I don't know if that was his best video. I definitely heard him sing better. Maybe he was a little nervous, but he's got it in there.
Casey, were you okay with him playing all the time, or did you ever tell him, hey, man, that's enough, or it was kind of a nice, to have some music?
Yeah, sometimes he'd come out and play it for me, but sometimes he was just locked in his room going at it. So it was fun. It was all fun there. There was no worries. I didn't mind it at all. I liked when he played. It was good. It was good to see. It was fun.
You never thought about trying to hide his guitar?
No, never thought about that.
Okay. Well, that's good. Hey, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your time for this.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.
Any more questions for Casey or Heston?
Yeah, I have one. Pete?
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, Heston, most projections have you as a first round pick. Is that kind of the feedback you've been getting as well?
Right now there's not too many. I guess you're not allowed to talk to scouts and stuff, but I guess from the few people I've talked to that know baseball well or whatever, that's what they're saying, and that's what I've worked for, and I guess we'll know in a few months whether it's going to be where everybody's talking or not, and I'm just kind of hanging out and just trying to keep getting better, and that'll take care of itself. I can't make up a team's mind, or they're the ones making the decision, so I'll just try to control what I can control, and then everything will line out the way you want it to eventually. So
yeah, and it was you were, I think, mid-30s pick when you drafted out of high school. How cool is it that you spent 3 years at Arkansas, and then there's talk that you're going to be a first rounder?
I can get that college degree and say I finished it and college graduate, and that'll be kind of exciting too to have that done.
All right, thanks. For Casey, where do you stand in pursuit of your degree, please?
Yeah, I'm getting my degree no matter what, depending on, I'll finish classes online if I have to, or go back next fall if that's something that's available. But I'm going to get that degree. I'm planning on finishing end of next year.
Hey, this spot for both guys, how challenging is taking online courses and being at home? I think there'd be a lot of, if it was me and I was your old age, I probably would get distracted pretty easily. What's it like working online classes?
I don't mind it. This generation is used to being tech savvy, so we know the ins and outs of it. So I don't mind it at all. I'm sure there's some classes that are a lot harder online than there would be if there's a teacher, explaining everything step by step. But for me, it's going all right.
Yes, then how about what like for you?
They're not that bad. I kind of like them a little bit because they're a little bit more self-paced, and honestly, I feel like they're a little bit easier to maneuver because you don't get stuck with you don't have to obligate your Monday, Wednesday, Fridays or whatever to show up to a class. You can do it whenever works for you. And also, if a subject you just don't understand it, you can spend some more time and do it. But there's sometimes you go to do your work for the week and you have a really good grasp on what you're supposed to be like writing a paper about for that week, whatever class you're in. And, it's just super short and easy because you don't have to go through all this stuff and teach yourself because maybe you already understand most of the material.
We got, and it was great to see him have that success. And, it's tough when